Oh, really?
Vampyre! We take your candy!
Count Dracula.
I am Dracula. And I bid you welcome, Mr. Hunt, to my house. Come in.
Our first award goes to the vampire for most blood drained in a single evening.
The strength of the vampire is that people will not believe in him.
Good evening, YouTube. I'm gonna be honest right out of the gate. So, I recorded this episode the day before it was due to upload. And then went upstairs, took everything off, put on my comfortable editing clothes, got something to eat, came downstairs to edit with plenty of time to get it uploaded on time, only to find out that the first 15 minutes were completely useless. It was corrupted. I don't know what was wrong with it. I tried 100 different ways to fix it. I then had to talk to my sister and calm myself down because I was faced with two choices. One, go get all of this back on, re-record, and then try and get it uploaded by midnight, or realize that it had happened, it is what it is, take a breather. And that's what I chose to do. So I went upstairs, wet my hair, put in overnight curlers to try and match the curl I had in my hair previously, got some sleep, and I'm back in full get up to do this. It's not going to be frequent that the video does not line up with the podcast. So now if you go listen to the podcast, the first 15 minutes are going to be totally different because I don't have a video for it. I thought about faking it, but the whole point of this channel is to show you what happens behind the scenes when you choose to take on something like this. When you say, every week I'm going to upload a YouTube video and a podcast, stuff like this happens. So what have we learned from this? Don't wait to the last minute. And also, if it happens, it happens. It's not the end of the world. It's okay. So I just got some sleep, got back up, did all of this, and I'm back down here. I almost shared with you the guttural scream that ripped forth from my body when I did all of this, got the dog out, got everything ready to go, hit record, and then the tripod failed and the camera fell. And then the heat turned on. So I screamed, and I almost shared that with you, but you don't need to hear that. It's no good for your ears, and I already got rid of it. So you may be asking yourself, why? Why do all of this? Because I don't normally do all of this. Well, there is a method behind my madness. It's in honor of what we are talking about this week, which is Kindred the Embraced. I wanted to tap into my inner Toreador. Those of you who know me and know this will know I'm absolutely Toreador. For those of you who don't know me or don't know what we're about to talk about, you're just going to have to trust me, and I promise you will learn eventually what I am talking about. Let's get a few things out of the way. One of the upsides to having to do this 2 times within a matter of hours is I got to drink a second cup of my vampire tea for this week, which is Moonlight and Serenade. Isn't that beautiful? I don't know if it's gonna, but my focus is being weird too. I'm having problems with that. Moonlight and Serenade, it's perfect. It's a perfect Toreador tea, and it's good that this is low in caffeine, because the last thing I need right now to fuel my rage is caffeine. But this one is quite lovely. This is vanilla and almond, and it's very soothing. So after I screamed, I started to sip on my tea to help my throat and my nerves and calm myself down. So I got to have a second cup of tea, which is a upside. The third book is going to be out in May. We don't know exactly yet what day in May. As soon as I find out, the Street Team goes first, then the Fanged Family, then I release it on the podcast, the YouTube, and the social media. So it's up to you when you want to find out when the book is coming up. If you haven't read the first two, now's the time to do it. If it's been a while, go back and read the first two, because you're going to need to remember what happened for the third book. Oh, it's been hard to keep secrets. I'll just tell you that. Go to lenanazari.com if you want to find me. The links for everything are there. You can reach out to me. You can talk to me. You can request certain things. You can do whatever you want to do. And I haven't talked about this in a while, but I have a Spotify playlist. It's the Eternal Night Shift soundtrack. It is my dream. I'm manifesting that these books will be a TV show or a movie someday. And as I'm writing or I'm rereading, songs are popping into my head. Plus, I actually reference songs in my book, so I'm adding those to the soundtrack. And I would love if you go on my Spotify and add to the playlist or download it or like it or whatever. I've had people add to it. Spotify itself has added a couple things, which I really love. So go check that out. I'm just going to go ahead and jump in because I really want to get this uploaded to you guys. I'm so sorry it's going to be late. Like I said, for those of you who think you may want to take on something like this, advice from me, don't wait to the last minute to record, because anything can happen. And when stuff does happen, it happened. You have to figure it out. You have to decide how you're going to handle it. You can fall apart for a few minutes, but then you got to get back in front of the camera and just start all over again. Okay, let me have a sip. I'm still trying to calm myself down. Kindred the Embraced. For those of you who play the game Vampire the Masquerade, please don't yell at me. I can already feel you getting mad. Listen, we're just talking about this TV show from the 90s. We're not talking about the game. I promise you, I am going to talk about the game. I promise. But for now, please let all that go. We're just talking about the TV show, okay? Please don't be mad. Let's summarize it. Huge spoiler alerts if you've never listened to this podcast or watched this channel. The series focuses on San Francisco police detective Frank Kohanek, who discovers his city is home to numerous vampires, while he is investigating an alleged mobster, Julian Luna. Julian is not really a mobster. As a matter of fact, he is Prince of the City, the ruler of 5 groups of vampires in the city, collectively called the Kindred. Frank had been romantically involved with Julian's former lover, Alexandra. Before Alexandra dies as punishment for breaking the masquerade, she asks Julian to protect Frank as a special favor to her, which he does. The two form an odd sort of friendship as the series progresses. Julian provides Frank with insights and information regarding the vampire community as it relates to crimes he is investigating, while Frank is able to act discreetly on Julian's behalf if needed. Further, Frank is shown to be somewhat resistant to vampire powers due to his physical intimacy with a vampire. Julian, in his role for Prince, is shown to be the only force that can stop the clans from breaking the uneasy truce that keeps them from fighting each other. The vampires survive thanks to the masquerade, disguising themselves as humans, and Julian strictly enforces the laws that govern them to protect their anonymity. Any vampires who break those rules find their lives ended. Vampires are shown to slip into human society rather easily, holding a variety of jobs. The senior vampires, who compose the Conclave of San Francisco, are depicted as wealthy heads of industry and business leaders. Julian struggles with his romantic feelings for human reporter Caitlin. Further, Julian is assisted by and finds comfort in his trusted friend Daedalus, who is the senior vampire for one of the 5 clans. Now, I am going to tell you a quick synopsis of each episode. Don't worry, there's only 8. But first, let's talk about the clans, okay? Ventru, these are your bankers and your politicians. They're embedded in local politics, finance, CEOs, things like that. Julian and Archon are Ventru. Toreador. These are your artists, embedded in music, modeling, theater, movies, and the art scene. They are renowned for their beauty. Lily is Toreador. Gangrel, they're of gypsy descent. I want you to imagine biker gangs. These are usually the bodyguards for the prince, and they always know what's out there happening on the street, so they're great informants. And Cash is Gangrel. Bruja, these are your mobsters, okay? These are the guys who are embedded in organized crime. Eddie and Sasha are Bruja, and the Gangrel and the Bruja have a very long-standing feud between the two of them. Nosferatu, these are the oldest of the Kindred. They appear much like their namesake. They stay underground. Some of them can actually work magic. Daedalus is Nosferatu. Let's talk about the 8 episodes very quickly. Episode 1 is called Original Saga, and that's when we first meet Frank, a police detective who has learned that vampires exist. He doesn't realize yet that he's completely surrounded by them, but he does understand this businessman who he thinks is a mobster, Julian Luna, is in fact Prince of the City. Frank's girlfriend, Alexandra, is Julian's ex-girlfriend, which is messy. And then she reveals herself, thereby revealing and breaking the masquerade, and then her life is now forfeit. Whoops. Episode 2, Prince of the City. The feud with the Bruja is escalating. Against masquerade policy, Eddie has ordered the death of Boyle, an informant for Detective Kohanek. However, the vote by the ruling Primogens is split, and Eddie is not sentenced to final death. Julian has fallen in love with reporter Caitlin, a human who wants to do an article on him because he is wealthy, powerful, and unseen. There was a little bit of 50 Shades of Grey vibe in this interview. Julian, to control her, buys the San Francisco Times and appoints her as editor. Episode 3, Night Stalker. A recently embraced and insane Kindred is making the news as a serial killer, and falling in love with human women is an issue for Julian, Cash, and Daedalus. This is where you need to know that Sasha is Julian's human niece. Cash and Sasha, this is episode 4, Romeo and Juliet. Cash and Sasha have become lovers, and Julian grudgingly gives permission to Cash to embrace Sasha. But he's too late, however, because the Bruja clan, trying to provoke a war between the clans, has already embraced her. Episode 5, Live Hard, Die Young, and Leave a Good-Looking Corpse. Zane, a rock star who's embraced by Lily, endangers the masquerade, but she's having trouble admitting that he's a problem. Sasha embraces her Bruja blood. 6, The Rise and Fall of Eddie Fiore. Lily is jealous of Caitlin. I don't know if I've mentioned this, but Julian and Lily are lovers at the beginning of the show, and it sounds like they have been for a very long time, but it has fizzled out. This is an ex-romance, however, they live together. Complicated. My throat is a little sore from screaming earlier. Lily is jealous of Caitlin and sends a PI to take photos of Julian and Caitlin together. The PI ends up capturing Eddie's assassination attempt on film. Frank ends up with the photos and shows them to Caitlin, so she breaks up with Julian. Lily, meanwhile, has sided with Eddie, who is still planning to kill Julian. Heads will roll, but not the ones Eddie wants. Episode 7, Bad Moon Rising. With the Bruja Primogen Eddie Fiore gone, fights are breaking out all over San Francisco to determine which Bruja will succeed him. This is to be expected. What isn't expected is return of a Nosferatu named Goth. Julian ran Goth out of town years ago, but he has returned stronger than ever, and when he performs the ritual and drinks the blood of a human infant he has kidnapped, he will be unstoppable. Episode 8, Cabin in the Woods. Julian hasn't been out of San Francisco in 7 years, so when Caitlin asks him to go away with her for the weekend, Julian leaves Archon in charge and goes with her, sans bodyguards, to Manzanita Springs in Sonoma County, where Caitlin has secured a secluded cabin in the woods. Unbeknownst to Julian, the sole survivor of a bloodbath, a Brujah named Cameron has reunited with the 3 remaining Manzanita Springs Brujah and has plans to take over Eddie's seat. Wow, my throat really hurts. It was a good scream. So, vampire references and crossovers. We actually have an interesting crossover, which I don't think we've ever had on this podcast, which is a musical crossover. In Kindred, there's music used that is from Bram Stoker's Dracula, as well as music used from the 1994 version of Interview with the Vampire. If any of you can get your hands on this, I watched it on DVD. I happened to find it somewhere a year ago and was thrilled. And you'll immediately recognize the music. Immediately. I can't even imagine the money they paid for that. Okay, for actors, there is a ton. Jeff Kober is Daedalus in this and plays 2 smaller roles in Buffy the Vampire Slayer and was also in the Van Helsing TV show. Stacey Haiduk plays Lily in this and is Jenny in True Blood. Patrick Bachow is Archon in this and also in a movie called Vampires: The Turning. Bridget Brana is Sasha in this, and Virginia in Angel. I had forgotten about that. Shannon Rowe was Cash in this, and Jack in one of the episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Brian Thompson plays Eddie in this and is the judge and Luke in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Kate Vernon is Alexandra in this and is in the TV series of The Hunger, not the movie. Titus Welliver is Cameron in this and voices Ratko in Castlevania. Tony Amendola plays Sorrel in this and is a demon in Angel, as well as also voices a character in Castlevania. And Ivan Sergei Zane is Zane in this and in the 2016 Mother May I Sleep with Danger. For those of you who don't know, that is a Lifetime movie remake where they now made the girlfriend abuser a vampire. It's on my list to cover one day, I promise. We'll do a whole Lifetime theme. Trivia. This aired in 1996. Unfortunately, it was canceled after 1 season, which is why there's only 8 episodes. And sadly, in September of the same year, the gentleman who played Luna lost his life in a motorcycle accident. So very, very sad. All right. My favorite game. How many people were in this and also in Supernatural? And the answer is 3. There's 3 of them. Jeff Kober, Bridget Brana, and Titus Welliver were all in episodes of Supernatural. So we have a Supernatural crossover. Let me give you some vocabulary because I don't want you to get lost as I go on to describe different aspects of the show. Kindred, that is what the vampires call each other. They say that the word vampire was actually created by humans. Conclave, this is when the head of each clan all come together to meet. It's like a vampiric council, essentially. Primogen is the head of the clan. Embrace, that is turning a human into kindred. Masquerade, that is the vampires walking amongst human society and keeping everything a secret. So when they say you've broken the masquerade, that's what they mean. Sire, the one who makes you, also called maker. And blood hunt is when your unlife is now forfeit and any vampire in the city can kill you. Let's break it down. Relationship to humans. I've already described this. They walk amongst you. You don't know they're out there. They are protecting the masquerade. Appearance. So this depends on the clan. Nosferatu are much like their namesake. Bald, extended earlobes, long nails. So you know right away that they are vampire. The rest of them are human looking. And as I mentioned, the Toreador are very renowned for their beauty. So you see them amongst models and rock stars and actors. And then the only time that you really know they're human is when their irises change. They will brighten up. Sometimes they're yellow, sometimes they're red, sometimes they're just a brighter version of your color. And then, of course, the fangs, which we will get to because this is the point where I get to merge this video with the original. You're going to be able to tell there was no point in even trying to hide that this was happening. And this is perfect because my battery is about to die. So let's pick up with yesterday's Lena. Interestingly, we see a vampire work out in this, so I'm not sure what that implies. I mean, I thought the way you are when you're embraced is the way you stay, but then why would he work out? So I don't know. That was interesting. I noticed that one. Fangs. Most of them have retractable 2 sharp canines. The Nosferatu have 2 on each side of the top jaw and 2 on the bottom, almost like you would see in werewolves, but the Nosferatu obviously are the difference to this. Blood. They do drink a lot of blood in this, and they are able to feed off each other, which we don't see all the time. They cry blood. They're also seen putting a drop of their blood in drinks and giving it to humans. And then this makes humans immune to vampiric power. So I know I said in the description that Frank is invulnerable to these because he slept with a vampire. That's actually not correct. It's because she put blood in his drink and he drank it. They share blood with each other, like I said, and Daedalus at one point shares his blood with Julian, and then Julian takes on some Nosferatu qualities long enough to fight and win against a Nosferatu. So it's not long term, but he does take on another clan's powers by ingesting that blood. Food. So they actually can eat and drink. We see a few versions of this. At first, I wasn't sure if there was a plate in front of him, but he wasn't eating, and I thought, well, maybe he's just trying to fake it, but that might have been a choice for the actor. Some actors don't like to eat when they're acting, but later on we do see people eat and drink, so the vampires can eat and drink. Sunlight. This is interesting. If they feed, they can be in the sun for a little while, but eventually as the blood wears off, they will burn. Sleeping. We see Julian lie down on a grave and sort of slide down into the dirt to sleep. Other than that, we never really see where they sleep. I'm going to wager a guess that it's in beds that are in windowless rooms. And the Nosferatu, like I said, they live in sewers and caves. So I don't know what they're sleeping in, but they're down in the sewers. Powers. They heal very quickly. They don't age. They can shift into birds of prey and wolves. If they touch something that's held by someone in the past, they can relive that moment. They can control humans with their words and erase their memories. Very handy. How are they made? During the embrace, they drink from you and you drink from them. Classic embrace. Love it. Absolutely love it. The turning does take a few hours. You feel very sick. And then once you have fed on a human, it completes the turn. So we only see it one time, but that's how it went down. Heartbeat and breathing. They do breathe. As for their hearts, if they've fed, the heart starts to beat, but it will stop when they've gone too long without blood. They will also be cold once they've gone too long without feeding. So that was interesting. I always love when they explain it for me in the show or the I love when they list it off for me like that. How do they die? Too long in the sun and you burst into flames. Stake to the heart. Shotgun shells full of phosphorus is how they kill each other. Decapitation, and chop them up and they'll bleed to death. So we never see that happen. Somebody just said it. Are they good or are they bad? Like so many before them and those that come after, you can choose who you are going to be. Being a vampire does not change you specifically. However, with Sasha, we do see they're kind of portrayed like hungry, power-hungry criminals. Sasha's made Bruja, but she chooses to still love cash and fight the Bruja nature. One of the Nosferatu steals a human baby to perform a ritual, but a female from their clan saves the baby. And like many humans, sometimes you do bad things for a good reason, you do good things for a bad reason. It's like Julian's choice to condemn Alexandra to a blood hunt. I understand he's got to follow the law, he can't show nepotism, but yikes. And then there's this one rock star who I talked about. He's turned, and then he just starts to embrace women against their will. They don't even know what's happening. He does like a whole bunch of them before somebody finally stops them. So, you know, be careful around the kindred, especially the pretty ones. Tropes I love. We have the classic. Human cuts himself while shaving, vampire reacts. You know I love this one. In this one, she walks up and licks it off his face. I was like, whoa, and he looks like he's kind of into it too. I love the idea of different clans of vampires. I've always loved this. I love the idea that there's different species of vampires and they all have to come together. I love the idea of them varying in powers, varying in appearance, and I love the idea of them having a council of vampires and their own laws. That is absolutely my favorite, and you guys will see hints of that in my books. Tropes I hate. I hate the Romeo and Juliet trope. I know it's not specifically vampires, but they do use it in this one. It's the whole lovers from the opposing clans. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, I don't hate it so much that I just feel like it's overused. Now, if they were on their 6th season and they were kind of running out of ideas, fine. But they do it like 3 episodes in. You can't think of anything else, really? Okay, anywho. I'm gonna go ahead and move on from that one. All right, let's do it. The ratings. How scary or evil are the vampires of Kindred the Embraced? So they have powers. They can mesmerize you. They can make you forget that they've even fed on you. They walk among you, and they're in the police department. There's one in the police department. There's several in politics. They're well funded. If fed, they can be in the sunlight, and they can shapeshift. This makes them pretty dangerous for humans. However, there are laws that are protecting the secret, and therefore they don't kill indiscriminately. Many of them actually like humans. Also, there's so much infighting for power and dominance. A Bruja embraces Julian's niece just for spite. They actually kill each other more than they kill humans. So I took all of this into account, and they get a rating of, and this is all of them together. I didn't want to split up the clans and give each clan a rating. So all together, they rate a 6.5 out of 10 stakes to the heart for scariness and evil. How sexy or alluring are the vampires of Kindred the Embraced? I'm gonna get this out of the way, okay? Sorry to the Nosferatu clan. Many of you are very, very nice. You get the honorary point for being vamps, and Daedalus is quite the romantic. He's very loyal. He's able to use magic to change his appearance long enough to have a night with the human woman that he loves, but he can't hold the magic for long. So Nosferatu, you get a 2 out of 10 onks for sexiness and allure. Brujas only get 1 more point, a 3 out of 10, because yes, they are human looking, but they are brutal, and they seem like they would rather take a woman by force than seduce her. Yikes. So 3 out of 10 for them. The rest, especially Toreador, get higher scores, obviously. They are able to seduce humans and seem to draw them in. They are very sensual. Frank is so in love with Alexandra that he's willing to do anything for her. And she has such a hold on Julian, the most powerful vampire in the city, that he agrees to protect Frank once Alexandra is gone. Julian and Lily are exactly what you picture your sexy vampires to be. So 9 out of 10 onks for sexiness and allure. They do lose 1 point because you never truly get close to them unless they embrace you, which is very, very rare. So it's the only reason they don't get the full 10 out of 10. Has anybody gotten a 10 out of 10? For those of you who have listened since the beginning, have any vampires gotten a 10 out of 10? I know a few have gotten 9 out of 10, but has any vampire gotten 10 out of 10 onks? I'd be interested. Let me know. Comment. My thoughts. Oh, I remember vividly watching this show when it came out. I was destroyed when I found out it wasn't going to be renewed, and I was devastated when I heard that Mark, who plays Julian Luna, had died. Looking at it now, it's even sadder because he was 34. That's younger than I am now. It's so sad. A few years after this show aired, I would go on to college to study theater, and a group of us would actually LARP Kindred, the Masquerade, or Vampire the Masquerade, which is what this is based on. We would run around campus at night in capes and gowns. We had characters and traits. Seriously, my happiest memories. Not the happiest, but one of my happiest memory. For those of you, oh my gosh, it'd be amazing if somebody from college actually watched this. I don't think they'd be surprised to see where my life has landed. I was Toreador, and not just that, I was queen of the city. So that's right, queen of the city. It's fine. This show and the game has stuck with me my whole life. As a matter of fact, Julian is one of the vampires who inspired Soren in my book. So for those of you who have read the books, you'll know that there's a little bit of Julian Luna in Soren. I think if I looked at the show through an objective lens as a vampire expert, I probably would tear it apart, but I just can't. It has too much sentiment, too much nostalgia attached to it in my eyes. It is cheesy. Yes, it was the 90s. That's what did well in the 90s. Look at Melrose Place and Charmed and even our beloved Buffy. That was the style back at the time, okay? Don't come back for me. However, if they revived it, I would be so interested in seeing what they did with it. Was it amazing in the 90s? No, it wasn't amazing, but it had some real potential, and I would just love to see them bring it back out. What an exciting world it would be. I would love to see what they would do with it. Maybe in my dreams, it will come back someday and I will get to be a part of this. In the meantime, I love Kindred. I can tell you with 100% confidence that if this show hadn't existed and I hadn't been exposed to it or the game, I wouldn't be the same vampire writer and podcast host and TikToker that I am today. I would probably still be doing it, but it would be different. That's all I'm saying, okay? I was definitely, at the time, it shaped a little part of me. I want to say, it was 96, right? I even said it, 1996, so I was 16. It was that time where I was like really creating who I was and what I loved and what I was drawn to. It was a time where I was really starting to think about like, what did I think was sexy and what got me excited and what I was drawn to and attracted to. And this little show was definitely part of that, created who I am today. Okay, I need to wrap this up. I have unfortunately not gotten my hands on Shadow of the Vampire yet, so we're gonna have to rearrange some things, but that's okay. Next week, we are going to do a classic. We are going to do Fearless Vampire Killers. If you haven't seen it, go look for it, see if you can watch it before I review it. If you're a big vampire fan, you've probably already seen it. You might have even seen it and not realized you've seen it. It was on a lot. But for those of you who haven't and love vampires, go track it down. You have a week to watch it, and then we are going to talk about it next week. And now I am going to take off this very uncomfortable gown because I'm done playing Toreador for the night. But I thank you all for joining me. I hope you're doing well. For those of you who celebrate it, happy Easter. Enjoy your egg hunts. And I hope you had a lovely full moon, because the full moon just passed. And as always, I wish you wicked hugs and bloody kisses. Good evening. Okay. I think I was a little bit distracted by this one. I think because I had so much happening in my head. I love this show so much. I was so excited to go back and watch it again. I was so excited to do it again. And then I got all dressed up, and then I was like in the mood, and I have my fun little mask here. And so I thought about starting this with the mask on, but like I said, I had to take the dog out and all this stuff happened and just whatever. So I am going to finish my Moonlight and Serenade. Moonlight and Serenade. So now that you've heard me talk about Kindred, you'll understand why I chose this tea. But I'm going to go ahead and finish this, and I'm going to go change out of this gown and get started on editing. But thank you for coming and watching these. Thank you if you subscribed and you commented down below. It really does take a village for all of this to happen, and I would not be where I'm at today without people like you. So thank you so much. I love you guys. Wicked hugs and bloody kisses. Good evening.